Hi guys, this is gsandom.com and I'm here with the Xiaomi Redmi 4 for a full review. This version we have here is actually known as the Xiaomi Redmi 4 Prime in some regions. It's a compact 5-inch handset with a pretty big battery, and you can find it on tomtop.com for around $173, but there are many discounts and price reductions these days. It comes in gold or grey, and the design involves a metal unibody shell that's gently rounded at the backside. We have comfy buttons here on the sides, a pretty solid build, metallic build, discrete antennas here, and I would say a pretty generic format of the device. There are also big-ish bezels for the display by current standards, and it reminds me a bit of a Huawei Nova, especially if you look at it from the back side. Measures 8.9mm in thickness, weighs 156 grams, which is quite reasonable for the big battery inside. Now, if you want to compare it to the Huawei Nova, it's obviously a bit thicker and only 10 grams heavier. Once you compare it to the Lenovo Vibe K5, well, 0.9mm thicker and about 14 grams heavier. It's got a big top side and bottom side if you really want to talk about bezels here. In the end, it may feel a bit heavy for its 5-inch diagonal, but it's also reassuring during gaming and during video watching. But once again, generic design, but comfy and well built. Now, on the display front, this is a 5-incher with an IPS LCD panel and a Full HD resolution, and we also have a 2.5D glass panel here, which should be gently rounded on the sides. Since we do not have a video player, I'm going to go ahead and resort to the gallery to play our video, and I'm talking about a test video here. Okay, so the viewing experience goes like this and involves some pretty vivid colors. One would say two vivid colors, close to oversaturation. We got a pretty decent brightness and also crisp image, wide view angles, and the contrast was not bad even in full sunlight. Now, we went ahead and did some tests on this screen, and let's see what came out of that experience. So, the pixel setup on the microscope, it's RGB stripes pixel setup, familiar for an IPS LCD, and then we tested the brightness, achieving a reasonable 363 lux units, which is okay for a mid-range device. It beats the Huawei Honor 7 and the HTC U Ultra, which is no small feat, but scores below the LG Nexus 5X. Of course, the screen gets its very own dedicated settings. In the display section, you got your brightness level here with automatic brightness, you got your leading mode, which will reduce the glare, and there's a strength option here. There's colors and saturation to tweak, warm, standard or cool, and brilliant or standard, depending on what you want from the screen. Text size with a variety of settings here. Okay, and double tap screen to wake. Overall, a pretty satisfying display for a mid-range device. And now it's time to discuss other aspects. I'm talking about the rest of the hardware. Now, inside this phone, there's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 625 processor, which is a famous one because we've also seen it on the Huawei Nova, on the Asus Zenfone 3, and the Motorola Moto Z Play. Now, on the GPU front, there's the Adreno 506. We got 3GB of RAM, 33GB of storage, of which 24 are usable, and a microSD card slot. As you can well see, you can play around with a bunch of apps, start up any one of them, and you will not encounter lag. So this MIUI 8 is running like a champ here with no problem with lag. So aside from having no problem with regular usage, you will also be able to run games smoothly. After all, we have a pretty good CPU, pretty good mid-range CPU, enough RAM and storage to play with modern games, even the newer ones. Okay, so here we're playing with Riptide GP Renegade that is not yet 1 year old. In August it becomes 1 year old, and it's still our benchmark for high-end graphics. You can actually tweak the graphics from the settings department, and here we go. Xiaomi Redmi 4 with a good pedigree CPU running Riptide GP Renegade. I'm happy with the frame rate and the way the water is rendered. I do not seem to see any hiccups here. Good responsivity to the controls, nice graphics, textures and shadows, so we're all happy with the gaming experience on this 5-inch compact phone. Now let's see if you're also happy with the way the benchmarks have been handled. Okay, so here we go. As usual, we did Quadrant, Antutu and the works, and the results, I have to say, were quite good. This is Quadrant. Well, in Quadrant, we were on the 13th spot. Shocking, I know. We beat the Huawei Nova and also the Yumi Plus E, but scored below the LG G5. But not by very much. which is a bit of a compliment. Okay, other tests, well, we also did Antutu, as I said before, not a bad score. We actually beat the Samsung Galaxy A5 2017 and scored below the Asus Zenfone 3. And the final test, the most important one, some would say, is the gaming one. Not bad at all. In this one we beat the Huawei Nova and the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4X, but we scored below the Zenfone 3. In the end, this fits right between the Huawei Nova and the Zenfone 3 and also beats some Galaxy A models. Now, if you're wondering about the temperature, let's see what happened there. So, temperature test number 1. We achieved 36.5 degrees Celsius after running the game you saw before, that Riptide, and it means there is no overheating. And then we ran GFX Bench and scored 32.5 degrees Celsius, once again no overheating. Time to talk about the battery, the strong suit of the phone. It's a 4100 mAh lithium-ion unit. On paper promises 16 hours of video playback, 14 hours of gaming, and those are some pretty strong promises. Now let's see if it delivers in our tests. In our HD video playback in a loop test, we achieved 14 hours and 59 minutes, which is actually excellent. It's the 12th placed phone all time. It beats the Huawei P10 and even the Galaxy S8, which is a very interesting and powerful feature. Now, it scores below the Samsung Galaxy A3 2017, which is a heavy hitter, as you know if you've seen the review. And in the continuous usage test, we scored 12 hours 33 minutes, which is quite solid, 6th placed, and it beats several battery phones actually, like the AllView P6 Energy, AllView P8 Energy Pro, and the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4X. So very impressive, but gets beaten by the Motorola Moto Z Play and the same Galaxy A3 2017. The charging, you probably expect it to be long. Well, it's long-ish. I would say reasonable, 2 hours and 36 minutes, superior to the Huawei P8 Lite. Also, 5 minutes of charging equals 5%, 30 minutes 25%, and 1 hour 51%. If you go into the settings and you're looking to tweak the battery, you got here your power option and you can analyze battery usage. You got your battery saving here. Simply monitor the background processes, turn off the synchronization, and gain some more juice with this feature. Here we have the option to turn off the mobile data when the device is locked, heating notifications, battery indicator, battery used, depending on apps and hardware, so everything is catered to, and there is also this fast optimize option. Battery use, you can manage the app's battery usage, and we got here the off mode and the on mode, which will restrict all background activity when possible. So in the end, I'm very happy with the battery here. I would go as far as to call it an excellent battery, possibly the best battery we've seen on a Xiaomi phone. Time to discuss about the acoustics. As usual, we have two grills at the bottom and only the right one is actually the speaker. This one is only for design purposes. Now, in order to play music, you can use one of the two apps which are available here. There is Music and there is Google Play Music. I'm going to go ahead and use Music because I like how minimalistic it is. Okay, now if you go to the settings here, we got Mi account. We got options here, notification shade widgets, sleep timer, sort items, and there's also a bit of a equalizer here, not very complex unless you're using headphones. We got options tailored for various type of headphones coming from Xiaomi. We got a Mi sound enhancer, we got an equalizer, and you can assign buttons, but let's skip the red tape and listen to some tunes. Okay, so the conclusion, I would say that the volume is quite high, the sound was clear. I felt that there's actually too much bass, which is not something you would hear me say every day. I usually complain about the lack of bass. Well, this time the bass seems to drown a bit the other notes. I like the keys, and in general I was happy with the acoustics here. We didn't have bundle headphones, but we do have FM radio available right here. Now, let's see how the decibel meter test turned out, because we also did that. So here we go. We achieved 84.7 decibels at the front and the back of the phone using our typical acoustic sample, and then we played the game you saw before, Riptide GP Renegade, 96 decibels, which is quite a good result. The first test, the one you saw before, this result here, places us above the Huawei P10 and the Motorola Moto M, and the second result actually places us above the Samsung Galaxy S8. not bad, but below the Huawei P9 Lite 2017. So, good acoustics, time to discuss the cameras. I would say a pretty typical package. 13 megapixels here, dual tone flash, and 5 megapixels here for the selfie. f2.2 aperture for both of them, and the camera UI goes something like this. As you can see, quite a fast start. And here we have our typical object. We have a pretty fluid zoom, fast picture taking. The focus had, I would say, mid-level speed, and the options were quite typical for a Xiaomi device. We got your audio, beautify, tilt shift, timer, straighten, scene, panorama, and manual triggers, ISO, and white balance. You got some effects here, and you'll be able to play with exposure right away, like this. Simply with a swipe you should be able to play with the exposure. And also, if you're using the front camera, it can actually try and tell your age. There's a special option that identifies your age judging by your face. And if you go into the gallery, I can actually show you the many shots we've taken with this phone. So the first shots were taken during the day on a 35 degrees Celsius day. It's very hot these days, and we have quite a few shots with ice cream. I would have to say I'm pretty happy with the colors, and also the selfies were quite nice. I'm happy with the skin texture, hair texture, and by the way, this has got to be one of the clearest backgrounds I've seen in a selfie. Okay, several shots here. We play with the zoom with some pretty good results. The green seems to be a bit too vivid here. Overall, not bad colors, pretty realistic within the normal standards. I'm also happy with the exposure and the focus. I find the HDR to be quite discreet. And here we go, we're searching for the flower macros. Those are the next step in our gallery. So close-ups of flowers checked, good details, nice color and texture, nothing to complain about. And these were the good flower macros. We actually had some excellent flower macros, but before that, check out the power of HDR doing its trick quite fine. Okay, I promised you close-ups and they're excellent. So if you're looking to take macros of objects, or simply playing with the focus like I did here, focus on this object or focus on this one, you'll be happy to know that the camera produces good results. And check out the zoom capability. This is HDR actually, so photo 1, photo 2 with HDR, and then we start to zoom in and in and in with pretty surprising results. I'm also happy with the brightness, and finally the selfies I promised are here. I'm talking about the skin texture and also the clarity of the background, which is usually blurred by some other phone makers. So in the end, I'm happy with everything, maybe minus some of the colors in some of the times, but in general I was happy with the quality here. Some extra monuments. It's a good camera. I would place it on par with the ZTE Nubia Z11 Mini, or even better, and also on par with the Huawei P10 Lite, for example. Okay, and I also have to mention that it's slightly below the Huawei Nova and the Asus Zenfone 3, but only slightly. Now, these are daytime shots. Let's see the nighttime ones, because we also have those. Okay, so let's look them up. The camera during the night time, and here we go. Things were a bit underwhelming, but it's still a phone that costs below $200. We were reasonably happy with the brightness and the texture, but sometimes we got a few blurry shots. Things are not very bright in the end. There's a lot of yellow hue. The light sources are a bit overblown. When you start to zoom in, you will lose details. Here we got some violet and yellow hues, and if you're patient, you can pull off a Facebook worthy shot. But other than that, not very impressive and not something to remember here. Basically like the last Nubia phones we tested, about on par with them, and maybe 1 out of 10 pictures is actually Facebook worthy. So in the end, not impressive, but reasonable for a mid-range phone. Now on the video front, luckily we have all the videos here. So in the video front, we did full HD videos, MP4 format, 29 frames per second and 20 megapixel bitrate, not bad. And this is the first video, a bit on the burnt side. This green is actually too vivid. And throughout our filming, we actually met with a strong echo from the microphone, so not very impressive microphone. It also cannot handle the wind very well. I'm happy with the clarity and the object tracking. We actually chased the cat around, as you can see, but let's go to more colorful stuff. This here, I'm not very happy with this hue of green, not very realistic. It tends to burn the image a bit, but I'm happy with the clarity. And also when you zoom in, you will still keep some nice details. Nice texture of the buildings, so not bad. Aside from being happy with the brightness and the clarity, The exposure was nice, also the exposure change, and the focus. Absolutely zero problems with the focus. The main problem would be the microphone and the echo and maybe the wind. That was a nice exposure change. And you can even handle the zoom without losing many details. So that's nice to have if you're a tourist. Okay, another video here. The sun was in front, no problem with that. And we even walked around a bit to see if it stabilizes well the image. Well, of course it's electronic stabilization, not digital or not optical one. Not very impressive, but at least the clarity was, I would say, reasonable. I would put it on par with the Huawei P9 Lite, the first edition, and it's below the Asus Zenfone 3, for example. Now, that's daytime video. Let's see the nighttime video, and I have to warn you, it's not that good. Lots of yellow, lots of fog, lots of blur, the light sources are huge, and the zoom is poor. We got a pretty okay object tracking, but nothing more than that. I would call the colors reasonable, and it's 19 frames per second and 14 megapixel filming, so not memorable for sure. We're done with the photo and video. Time to see what the web browser holds. I'm talking about the pre-installed web browser, but if you're not happy with it, there's always Chrome to download. So this is gsm1.com, our website. We're loading it up right now. As you can see, it's kind of slow, a fact also confirmed by the Velamo and SunSpider benchmarks, which are actually mixed. Velamo produced a good result, SunSpider a not so good result. Virtual keyboard should be stock, but you also have swipe in the mix. Now, on the connectivity front, we got micro USB 2.0 here with USB OTG. There is dual SIM with a micro SIM and nano SIM card slot. There is Bluetooth 4.2, Wi-Fi A, B, GN, AC, Wi-Fi Direct, FM radio, GPS and GLONASS. There's also Beidou and, surprise surprise, infrared here through an emitter at the top. 7 4G LTE bands and let's see the special Mi Remote app. So you can control your TV set, you can control your DVD player, your fan, your box, your receiver, projector, what have you. Okay, now the actual phone calls were pretty loud and clear, but the microphone was not exactly perfect. Now we did a speed test in order to check out the connectivity, and let's see what that turned out. So screenshots and the results are as follows. Up to 84 megapixel in downloads on 4G, 45 megapixel in uploads also on 4G, and 113 megapixel downloads on Wi-Fi, 25 megapixel uploads. I would say we're well within limits for a mid-range phone. Time to discuss the software now. Let's see what we're running on here. I can already tell you it's MIUI. So MIUI 8.2 applied on top of Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow, and MIUI brings a flat user interface, no app drawer, and it's pretty Spartan and pragmatic. Multitasking is done like this, like Huawei did back in the day, horizontally scrolling thumbnails, close them with a swipe up, come on. That should be about it. And then the drop down section is very clean, and actually I am liking it. Quick settings here, well organized, brightness and notifications. And then if you pinch the screen, you can gain access to move apps, widgets, wallpaper and effects. The widgets are standard, minimalistic, like we left them back in the days of the Xiaomi Mi Pad. Options are standard fare. We got your connectivity, display, wallpaper, themes, sound, notification and status bar, second space, basically like having a new phone by activating another area for another user, do not disturb, storage, light mode, extra settings. We got a quick ball, which is basically a floating widget, one-handed mode, and that's basically it. Of course, we have a fingerprint scanner here, and we are not afraid to put it to the test. Here we go. Okay, so screen lock, confirming my temporary pin, and change the screen lock. The pin is in use right now. Activated the lock screen, and here we go. Let's see just how fast we can unlock it. As you can see, works like a charm. Trying this. Okay, and this very fast unlock, actually one of the most surprising fast unlocks we've seen lately on a mid-range phone. Other than that, we have 32 pre-installed apps, which is okay considering other phones have 40 or even 50. Among them we have the basic tools. Here we got your calculator, clock, Mi account, feedback, compass, scanner, security, possibly the most useful of them, with a cleaner, block list, virus scan, permissions and so forth, and a Mi wallet as well as notes. Yes, we have notes, and it's quite a capable app inspired from Samsung and Apple. Okay, so Facebook and an Explorer and the list. Speaking of endings, it's the end of the Xiaomi Redmi 4 review, also known as the Redmi 4 Prime, and it's time for the pros and cons. On the pro side, an excellent, truly excellent battery, good build, pretty okay display, not bad performance, good pictures during the daytime. I will have to say that the selfies are also rather okay, reasonable video capture, the fact that we have infrared is a plus, and one of the best fingerprint scanners out there, surprisingly. Now on the cons section, we got some audio imperfections like the too much bass, poor microphone when shooting video, and not very impressive low light capture, as well as the fact that we do not have Android Nougat is a bummer, and also you should know that the facade is not protected by a scratch resistant glass. In the end, this feels like a would-be battery phone without the hype, and also quite good bang for the buck performance if you want gaming, if you want pictures and Facebook and music. That's about it. It's a good all-round mid-ranger, able to fight the Huawei P10 Lite, P9 Lite without too much fuss and with an extra strong battery inside. This Redmi 4, Xiaomi Redmi 4, can be found on tontop.com and you can spend less than $200 for it. This is it from gsndom.com. Bye bye.